Hey y'all, welcome to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Samantha Leighanne and I talk about books. It's been a minute since y'all have seen this mug, right? 2 months almost. I think the last video that I uploaded was at the beginning of February. It's just been some shit going on, you know? I have obviously altered my appearance, you know, new facial piercing, new hair color. This just happened yesterday. I kind of feel like me for the first time in a long time. But I'm not going to spend any time today talking about like where I was and like why I was gone and all that stuff. I'm just gonna focus on books today. I am doing a vlog for Sequelathon, which as you know I'm hosting, and I'm doing a terrible job hosting it. It's not quite over yet, but I will be doing a vlog, and I do take a minute and really sit down and talk to you guys about where I was and that kind of thing. So, but today we're just gonna talk about the books that I read in February and the books that I read in March. So spoiler, I literally read one book in March other than the book that I'm reading right now, which I hope to finish before the end of March. But yeah, so all of these are going to be from February. I don't have a stats breakdown like I usually do. Usually I can break down how many books, how many pages, author gender, genres, all that kind of stuff. I don't have any of that for you because I don't have my life together yet. I'm still working on it. I'm just happy to be back in front of the camera talking to you guys. So let's just talk about some books. All right, that's what we're gonna do. So February was Black History Month, and so I had set a goal in February. I was only gonna read Black authors, and that didn't exactly work out. The reason that it didn't work out is because I had a couple of holds come in from the library at like random ass times. And so I had technically started one book in January, and then I had another that I wanted to go ahead and get read before it was returned. So that's a thing that happened. So the first two books, not by Black authors. They are by women though. So that's the thing. So the first book that I read was on audio from my library, The Witch of Willow Hall by Hester Fox. I gave it 3 stars. I didn't love it. It was very like Pride and Prejudice-y, but like with witches. It felt like Pride and Prejudice to me, like just the setting and that kind of thing, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. Like I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I don't know, I didn't love it. I wanted to love it because I'd heard like really good things about it. You know, you have like the evil sister and she's a witch, but she doesn't know. Like that's kind of the plot of the book. You know, the love interest that is clearly in love with her, but he's staying away for reasons unknown. Like, I don't know. It just, the plot itself didn't feel very cohesive. And then there were like some side characters that were just there just to be there. There was a couple of loose ends that I don't feel like were tied up. The writing was fine. I would read something else by her, but I had heard that this book was just so fucking good, and I just was kind of let down by it. The narrator was really good though. I will say that. That's about all I have to say that. So also, like, as I'm talking about this, usually I can go like into really like detail, and I talk too much about the books that I read because it's usually fresh in my mind, and this is 2 months later, and so I'm probably gonna be a little vague. So that's a thing. Just prepare yourself. Next book that I read was Baby Teeth by Zoe Stage. I think that that's how you say the first name. This is another book that I gave 3 stars. So basic plot of this book is told in 2 different perspectives. You have a mother and a daughter. The daughter is somewhere in between the ages of like 6 and 8, I feel like, 5 and 8. I can't remember. I suck so hard at this right now. This is like vaguely horror thriller, because you have a creepy ass kid, and this kid is a demon. A demon, let me tell you. I liked the way that it was written. I feel like having the dual timelines added a lot to the story because you have the mother and her perspective, and basically this is almost like a battle between the mother and the daughter for the love of the husband slash father. And so having that dual perspective I feel like was really important, especially as you got later into the book and you really kind of learned the why. You know, like more background information on the mother, more background information on the experiences of the child, because at first you're like, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? Like, why is this kid the way that she is? And then, you know, you're given some information a little bit later and it's like, oh, okay, I think I get it now. I thought that the way that it was set up was really well done. And again, this kid's a demon and creepy as hell. So I did really enjoy it. I didn't love it. And I think the reason that I had a hard time connecting to it is because at the core, this book is something that's all about motherhood. And I am not a mom. So, you know, I couldn't connect with the book on that level. Maybe one day that is something that I'll be able to connect with, but as it stands right now, not so much. And that being said, like, I'm not 100% sure how I would actually like have felt about it if I was a mother. Just because that is something that the main character really struggles with, is, you know, like her feelings of inadequacy in terms of motherhood and things like that, and like dealing with postpartum depression and not being able to bond with your child, and those were the central themes of the book. But entertainment value, it was definitely like, it was there, so I gave it 3 stars. I again would read something else by this author. So next thing that I finished was a graphic novel. This is another one that I picked up from my library, and it is Abbott, and this is about a Black reporter in Chicago or Detroit, I can't remember which one, and it deals with like the occult and stuff like that. So of course, you know, number one, trying to read things by or about Black people in February, and I really liked it. I thought the art style was really good. I thought that the writing was really good. This was just volume 1. I don't know if there are any other subsequent volumes. I haven't looked into that, but I did really enjoy it. For all of you who are looking for something a little bit more in the horror genre in terms of graphic novels, if you haven't picked this one up, you definitely should. I feel like it has a really good balance in between talking about social issues and talking about race, and then, you know, like the creepy shit and that kind of thing. So I think that in that way it was really successful. Okay, so now I have a physical book that I read, and the next thing that I finished was The 5th Season by N.K. Jemisin. And I have seen this around BookTube, you know, and just around Bookstagram and the internet and all that stuff a lot, right? And everybody talks about how amazing it is. I did this as a giant buddy read with some of my BNF crew. I loved this. I gave it 5 stars. I probably should have picked up the next book for Sequelathon. I'm actually really glad that I didn't, because I feel like I wouldn't have loved it as much just because of the headspace that I've been in. But anyway, like, wow, this book, so many layers. It's so fucking good. Like, that's really all I can tell you, is it's so fucking good. So essentially this is told in 3 different points of view. You have 2 third-person points of view, and then you have 1 second-person point of view. And one thing that I have heard, a lot of people do struggle with the second person, but I feel like it worked. It took me a minute to get used to because I don't have a lot of experience with that POV. However, like I said, I feel like once I really got into the story, like, it worked, it was fine. There is a lot in this book in regards to like race and prejudice and things like that. It's very heavy in that subject matter. There's a lot of parallels. The magic system in this, well, magic system, whatever you want to call it, I thought was well done. You're dealing with people who can essentially control like the earth and certain elements in the earth, pretty much. But it is a really long book, but it doesn't feel like it's that long. And then just the way that everything comes together by the time you get to the end of it, it's like, oh shit. Like you kind of have your suspicions, you know, as you're going through and you're reading it, and then, like I said, just the way that everything comes together and the way that she leaves off, it makes you, to me, it really made me want to immediately pick up the next book, but I just haven't been able to do that yet. But I really liked this. If you are a fan of fantasy, and you haven't read this, like, I'm here to tell you right now, this is something that you need to put on your list, like, for real. This is one of the better fantasy books that I've ever read. For example, the Mistborn trilogy, I didn't love. It was okay. This is far superior, in my personal opinion. So, next book that I managed to finish, I've been working on this one for 2 months because it's a short story collection, and I tend to work through those pretty slowly, actually. And that's The Paper Menagerie by Ken Liu. So the way that this book is, so obviously this is a short story collection, but it's, the short stories are pretty varied. Like, you have some that are outright fantasy, you have some that are more in the speculative fiction, science fiction genre. So there's a really good variety there, and I really love his writing style. I am a huge fan of short fiction. I really love writing that can really make you feel things, really pack a punch in a short amount of time. I think that that, to me, is one of the hallmarks of a very good writer. And that's one thing that Ken Liu really does in this. There were a couple of stories where I was like, oh my God, like tears in my eyes. These stories aren't that long, but they were just really excellently done. There are a lot of elements in this. You know, it is more, like I said, sometimes science fiction or fantasy, but there are a lot of like East Asian elements, culturally speaking, in this. And so it was really interesting to see that type of thing in this writing, you know, in that genre, because that's something that I haven't really seen a lot of. A lot of times whenever I see fantasy, it's more, you know, westernized. So, or the fantasy that I've read, and I'm sure that it's out there, it's just not something that I have personally picked up. But after reading this, is something that I really do want to read more of, and I really do want to read more of his writing. And his writing style, I just really love. I'm a huge fan of his writing style. So this is something that I would definitely encourage you to pick up if you haven't. Next one that I picked up was Americana by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This is one, if you watch my Trash My TBR video, I'll link that up above if you want to watch it. It's kind of funny. This is one that I had a couple of people talk about. Not so much about the writing, but just there's like some apologizing for cheating, like explaining it away. And I get that, but I feel like this book was a lot more than just that, and I feel like detracting from the book overall based on that one thing, you really missed the point. This book is really heavy for a lot of different reasons, and I really do feel like it's semi-autobiographical in a way, because it does talk about the main character, Ifemelu, her immigration to America, and what that experience was like for her, and how it affected her in her life, and how it affected her life and her experience and things like that. And the main character in this book is she's like a blogger, and she talks about, you know, being African in America and what that experience looks like and how it's different from, you know, American Black people. And so that, coupled with just some details within the book, it really felt like it was semi-autobiographical to me. There are parts of this that are really slow. However, again, it's very heavy. It takes a long time to digest. But overall, like, I really did enjoy it. I feel like it was a book that I needed to read. It's heavy subject matter, but then it's also like very educational in a way. Like, as a white person, it's just, that is what it is. So I really liked it. But if the whole like cheating thing is like a deal breaker for you, I guess I wouldn't pick it up. But again, I feel like that's just something that you really have to look past, because there is so much more to this book than that. Next book I picked up was Memoirs of a Geisha. This is by Arthur Golden. Read this one with Stephanie from That's What She Read, and I liked this a lot for the most part. So it sets it up at the beginning. This is historical fiction. Sets it up at the beginning that this is based off of a actual geisha's experience and that kind of thing. And it was very eye-opening in terms of the cultural aspects of geisha women. It's something that I wasn't really familiar with. However, I did find out after the fact that there was a lot of backlash regarding this book. There were a lot, the person that he supposedly interviewed in order to write this book actually wrote her own book and said that there were a lot of things that he got wrong. And so I actually do want to read that book. The writing style was simplistic, but it wasn't bad. The one thing that I didn't like is there were characters that were pivotal to the story, and then all of a sudden, like, they were there and then they weren't. And it's like, but this was a person that was supposed to be very important, so I'm not really getting any kind of resolution there, and I didn't enjoy that aspect of it. This is one of those books, again, I really enjoy historical fiction because it makes me stop and it makes me really, you know, want to research the topics that I'm reading about. So I did read pretty extensively about geishas after I read this. I definitely enjoyed that, but I think I ended up giving it 3 stars just because of plot and the way that he tried to wrap everything up. So next up, I read Winter People by Jennifer McMahon. This is a book that I had been seeing all the time, and so whenever it came up on one of the used bookstores that I use, I had to grab it, and then I half read, half listened to this because the audio came in from my library. So basically, you have Sarah Harrison Shea and her husband. They live on this farm, you know, out in the middle of nowhere, and near this rock formation called the Devil's Hand. And so they have a young daughter. Like Sarah is very, very close to her daughter, and her daughter passes away. Other things happen, and you know, Sarah becomes like a ghost within the community. Well, years later, present day, there's a family living in the same house. Single mother, father has passed on with 2 children, and all of a sudden the mother goes missing. And so these children are, you know, like trying to find their mom. That's the long and short of it. I liked this book a good deal. I liked the timeline, the way that it was told in 2 different timelines. I like that you were fed information at the right times. You know, you could kind of see what was happening, you know, as it went on. It wasn't anything groundbreaking in that regard. The core of this book is really about grief and how we process that, and the lengths that we would go to be able to see the people that we love again. I liked what it had to say about that. But then of course, you know, there's this creepy, witchy, like, you know, vibe to the book, but there's definitely like that horror element to it. So it was well written. I really liked it. Next one is another one from the Trash My TBR video, and that's Everything by Leighanne. I read The Sun Is Also a Star when that first came out, and I loved it. It was fucking cute. I read the ending twice because I loved it so much. This, not so much. It was okay. Insta-love is a thing that I don't usually go for, but I really loved this. I thought that Maddie and Ollie were the fucking cutest. Like, I just thought that it was so fucking cute. And I don't know why I loved it as much as I did. Basically, it's about a girl who has an, I don't think that it's an autoimmune disease, but it's pretty much where like you're allergic to everything, and that the smallest thing can really like trigger your health to fail. But there's a twist to that. And the twist is what I didn't like. I got to that part and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? That is some shit right there. So I didn't love that, but I really loved like the Maddie and Ollie love story. I thought that was so fucking cute. I don't know. It was just like, it was okay. It was 3 stars. Like, I'm probably never gonna read it again, so I'll end up unhauling it. But I mean, it was cute. It was fine. Like, I didn't hate it as much as everybody told me that I was going to, so that's the thing. And that is all I have. That is all I've read. So now you're 100% caught up on all the books that I've read and what I thought of them. Yeah, that's where we're at. So going forward, oh shit, there's other things. And I'm gonna mention this in like every video because I don't want to do a separate announcement video. I am rapidly coming close to 1,500 subscribers, and I don't know how that happened. But I appreciate every single one of you that watches my videos. I appreciate every single one of you that reached out to me in my absence to check on me. I appreciate, you know, you giving 2 shits about what I have to say about books on the internet. So thank you so much. But subsequently, I am going to be doing a Q&A for any of you that are interested in anything about my life. So I will answer any questions you have within reason, you know, book related, life related, whatever you want to ask. Again, I'm pretty much an open book about most things, but if I don't want to answer it, I won't. So anyway, if you have any questions for that, definitely leave them in the down bar below. If you have read any of these books, if you liked any of these books that I talked about, definitely leave a comment below and let me know. Remember to keep it spoiler free for those that haven't read it yet, but if you want to talk spoilers, all of my social media links can be found in the down bar below. You can get at me at Goodreads, Twitter, and Instagram. As always, if you guys like what you see and you want to see more, make sure you click thumbs up and hit subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you guys so very much for watching. I am so excited to be in your sub box again. I will see y'all next time. Bye.